Hello there and welcome to the Watchful Citizen. I'm your host today. My name is Joshua Cramer. This show is brought to you by the Lancaster County Democrats Public Relations Committee. You can check us out online at www.lancastercountydemocrats.org. Well, today we have a very exciting show for you. We have with us Mr. Leroy Stokes, President of NAACP Lincoln Chapter, and Ms. Patte Newman, active citizen extraordinaire. And we have a discussion that is very appropriate given the time of the year that we're recording this show. It is the day before Martin Luther King Day, and we are going to talk about affirmative action. In my opinion, unfortunately, we are still talking about affirmative action and why we need it and why we need to keep it in our community in 2008. Leroy, I think we would like to start out with a little of your reflection on what affirmative action is, where it comes from, and what kind of need that it serves in our society today.
Thank you, Josh. I'm very happy to do that. First, let me thank Patte for coming. She and I both are strictly volunteers in this endeavor as we proceed to try to salvage affirmative action and make sure that affirmative action is not abolished in Nebraska. There are persons outside the communities who are looking at Nebraska and coming in and think that affirmative action is no longer needed. Some are very highly paid. But I can tell you, Patte and I are strictly volunteer, and in fact, her mother's birthday is today, and she made some arrangements so that she could come here and do what she sees as important to the community. And yet, there are those who still don't see the affirmative action is needed. Just to give you some background, how do we get to where we are as far as we look at affirmative action? I came here in 1970 to Nebraska, Auburn, Nebraska. In 1970 from Alcorn State University, where I graduated, I was the third actually in my class. And when I started looking for jobs in Mississippi, I was told they didn't hire students from down there. Alcorn was south of Jackson, where our capital was, where our office was at the time. And I began to look around the country and send applications literally to places, and I would sign the block, I'll go anywhere in the country. And that's how I got to Nebraska, literally signing a block anywhere in the country. But I've enjoyed that experience. But the point I wanted to make is affirmative action is needed and necessary. And I came to Nebraska, and for many years, I was the only African American in many of the towns I lived in: Auburn, Hebron, Trenton, Weeping Water, and it turned out to be a very positive experience. And I have been able to succeed in my endeavors here in Nebraska, my professional endeavors in Nebraska. But the point I want to make, if it had not been for affirmative action, I would not have been able to get into the department I work, which is U.S. Department of Agriculture, Natural Resources Conservation Service, and progress in the chain of management where I am today. And when you look at affirmative action, a lot of persons want to think that people of less qualifications have taken these jobs. That's not so. And I'm in a management position, and I would not hire a person that was not qualified. It simply means that when all things are equal, the academics, the grades, the positions, then the person, and if you have a numerical objective, look at that minority person and say that I'm going to give that person a chance to succeed in the career occupation that they're prepared to do. It's not putting preferential treatment over one or another. It's simply giving the person who is highly qualified an opportunity to work and earn a living for their families, which is what we all want.
And Patte, how did you come to the affirmative action debate today? What brought you here to talk about this?
Well, there is a movement afoot. We all read in the newspaper that there is a group that wants to put a ballot initiative on the ballot in November that would basically outlaw any sort of, and they use the term preferential treatment to anyone based on race, sex, color, ethnicity, or national origin. This has passed in California, it has passed in Michigan, and it's being promoted by groups who call themselves civil rights initiative groups. So it was the California Civil Rights Initiative group that brought it forward in the first place. This is scary, scary stuff. Basically what they're saying is they're using the right terms to try and promote it. No one can say, oh, I'm against civil rights, but they don't understand, once it's on the ballot, people do not understand that they're actually voting against affirmative action programs. And I can give you a study was done. Do you want me to go into that?
Absolutely.
Looking at a study that was done in California in a national poll, about 1,364 adults were interviewed, and they were shown the language of this ballot initiative that is going to possibly be on the ballot here in Nebraska in November. and 81% said, yes, we would support that. When it was explained that this was an anti-affirmative action program, that this would outlaw programs for minorities and women, support for it dropped from 81% to 29%. So it's very, very misleading, and I guess Leroy and I are here because we want to make sure that the community informs themselves as to exactly what is going on.
So, in your opinion, I mean, after looking at that study and reading about this a little bit, I mean, how did this pass in California?
Well, there was, basically if you read it, people don't like the term preferential treatment, and as Leroy said, we're not talking preferential treatment. All we're talking about is all other things equal. But if this gets passed, it will basically impact minority contracting, smaller businesses, minority or women-owned businesses, any sort of contracting. It says in the operation of public employment, public education, or public contracting.